if you are violent, you don't get money from this. If you are violent, and the Trump administration doesn't, and the Trump family doesn't get anything from this.
Hang on, I got to fact check that. Hang on, Ben, I got to fact check that because we don't know yet.
No, the DOJ put out a list and they said that they will not get a reward from this and they cannot make claims to it.
No, not the Trump family part. I'm talking about if you were violent against police, what we have right now is that Todd Blanche told Paula Reed last night it's going to go to this committee and that they're going to pick, the president is going to pick, and Congress will have approval of 1 of 5, and the president can fire any of them at any time. And those are the people who will decide.
Blanche was talking to members of Congress today and has made it very clear to them.
Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. In today's video, Jessica Dean fact-checks Ben Ferguson during a heated exchange on CNN's Newsnight. As loyalty to Trump continues to shape political races, debates over endorsements, January 6th, and accountability takes center stage. Watch as Jessica Dean challenges Ben Ferguson's arguments and takes control of the discussion.
He's losing some of the very tight grip he's had for a very long time.
I think he's lost people he didn't endorse, which is, welcome to politics. And I think he's trying to make sure he's got a better team moving into the next 2 years of his term. I think that's the reason why he decided to, for example, endorse Ken Paxton in Texas, where I'm from, and to say, look, guys that aren't really fighting hard right now, who are establishment, I'm not going to back you. Cassie in Louisiana is the same example of that. He wants an upgrade there. And I think proof that he's making the right choice is the fact that these guys, as soon as they knew they were out, they're like, I don't like you. It's personal. And by golly, I'm giving you nothing until the day I leave here. It's spoiled milk. It is what it is, but they'll be gone in January. So I think the president's making the right decision.
But until then, they still have power in the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, they do. They have a lot of power. But I also think the president's playing the long game. He understands that he wasn't going to get as much of his agenda done if you have people behind the scenes that are fighting against you in your own party. He dealt with that for 4 years when he was in office the first time. And I think that's why he's now way more outspoken on this, saying, I'm finding teammates who understand what we're doing with America First agenda. That's who I'm going to endorse. That's who I'm going to fight for. And by the way, the Republican Party said yes to all of those candidates from the president this last week. They said, we trust you, we like your agenda, and we're going to send those people to Washington. And incumbents who had an insane amount of money come in. Cornyn's a great example of this. The amount of money they wasted in D.C. with the elites there to try to save him, it's been a disaster. He won't be going back to Washington, D.C., and I think he even knows it.
Look, it's a Shakespearean story, like from the famous line from Hamlet, he's being hoisted on his own petard. He was so eager to punish them for even the most minor deviations from loyalty to him, that he has made them all angry. Yes, I agree. I would like for them not to just show courage and conviction when they're on their way out the door. I want them to show courage and conviction when they're in the room, when they're on their way into the door. But it seems like, spines are like flickering lights in the Republican. Spines are like flickering.
That's not
spines are like flickering lights in the Republican Party. Sometimes you see it, and just as soon as you see it, it goes away. I remember these same Republicans standing up after J6 and saying, "Oh, this is a horrible day. This is a horrible thing," and some of this blame lays at the feet of the president. And then for the next 4 years, they caught amnesia, right? Because they don't believe. There's no conviction. The spine melted, and everybody fell in line.
Dude, that would be you guys saying Joe Biden was a good candidate. If you want to talk about falling in line, no spine. You guys told us that Joe Biden was like sane and mentally competent when he clearly wasn't, and lied to the American people and then covered up the incompetence. So don't lecture me about moral clarity here from a party.
Melting was
Joe Biden was a disaster, and you guys covered it up and looked in the cameras. All of the Democrats said, he runs laps around me. He's on his A game. He's so good at this. And then you want to sit here and say that, man, I wish these Republicans would send him
Trump. I don't know what all this is about.
Come on.
So I'm going to, all that screaming, I'm just going to talk to you and say this. The spines disappeared.
Of Democrats.
The spines disappeared, and he doesn't want to acknowledge that.
You guys say Joe Biden is sane.
Cowards. They are cowards. The people, even the people who speak up for him, are cowards because they don't even have the conviction.
Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Over the past few years, many Republican lawmakers who supported Trump on most issues still faced backlash after disagreeing with him on a few key points. That suggests the focus has shifted from ideology to personal loyalty. In a healthy party, members can agree on most issues while still having room for disagreement. But in today's GOP, that flexibility appears to be shrinking. History shows that parties focused too heavily on loyalty tests often struggle to attract the independent and moderate voters who decide general elections. Ben Ferguson points to primary wins as evidence of political strength, but success in a primary doesn't always translate into victory in a general election. We've seen candidates energize the party base, yet struggle with broader voters in key swing states. Another pattern is how discussions about Republican accountability often turn into criticism of Democrats. While both parties deserve scrutiny, pointing to Democratic mistakes doesn't answer concerns about what's happening within the GOP. The larger issue is whether elected officials are more concerned about avoiding primary challenges than representing their constituents. Congress was designed to serve as an independent branch of government, not as an extension of any president's political machine.
I would actually argue the opposite with the topic at hand, which is this $2 billion fund, is that I think Trump should remember that there's still fiscal conservatives among some of the lawmakers in Congress. And so when they look at a $1.8 billion price tag, they do cringe. But I think what's missing from that discourse about this fund is the fact that there's an existing mechanism for it. It's called the Judgment Fund. The founding fathers even used it during the early days of the Republic. Basically, if someone is victorious in a lawsuit against the federal government, there has to be a fund to pay them out a settlement. And so what this anti-weaponization fund that the left is fear-mongering about right now is a derivation of that existing mechanism. Now,
No, it's a bastardization of it.
What's missing from this fund is common sense.
Where are the fiscal conservatives when they were blowing the deficit with this big, beautiful bill that was going to add trillions of dollars to the deficit? So where are they then? I just need to figure out how this works out for you.
Well, the opportunity cost there was, the 2017 tax cuts actually generated real wage increases for many Americans, household income growth, and so that was what was going to be earned at the end of passing.
Yes, it also cost the Treasury $1.5 trillion in lost revenue.
And it also generated a lot of gains for the average American.
What was the price tag on it?
Who are the average Americans who got it? Because hundreds of thousands of Americans right now can't afford to live.
So
the big case here for them is that they cannot afford to pay their bills.
Like, are you saying you're against no tax on tips and no tax on overtime?
I'm saying Americans can't afford their bills. They're the ones who are telling us that affordability is a problem.
That is not why you did that. That is
You're
not why you
also
did
cutting
that.
funds at rural hospitals. People cannot afford health care.
So,
Hang on. Terry, I want to get to you, and
I got a little fact check. The Judgment Fund was de minimis. Until the 1950s, there had to be a vote of Congress for every dime that was spent out of the Treasury. They then enlarged that Judgment Fund. Obama used it in an even bigger way, and this is a complete bastardization of it. It is not an early American notion that the president can just spend money without congressional approval.
I agree there needs to be congressional approval, but it does stem from something
Let's be clear about one thing about number one, it's not going to pass right now the way it is.
Good.
There's a lot of Senate Republicans, some that I've talked to, that have said it is going to be changed if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the reason why it didn't happen over the weekend. So I do think this is part of how the sausage is made. Let's also be clear. If you are violent, you don't get money from this. If you are, and the Trump administration doesn't, and the Trump family doesn't get anything from this. They get no payout.
Hang on, Ben. I got to fact check that because we don't know yet.
No, the DOJ put out a list and they said that they will not get a reward from this, and they cannot make claims to it.
No, not the Trump family part. I'm talking about if you were violent against police. What we have right now is that Todd Blanche told Paula Reed last night it's going to go to this committee, and that they're going to pick, the president is going to pick, and Congress will have approval of one of five, and the president can fire any of them at any time. And those are the people who will decide.
Blanche was talking to members of Congress today and has made it very clear to them, if you are someone who is convicted and you are violent, okay,
do you remember before the election when they said that the pardons would not go to violent people as well? And then the first day, all of them got pardons?
I just have to keep it with
I go back to Congress.
I go back to Congress. That's not the case.
Hold on. No, Congress, I go back.
So amnesia.
It's not amnesia. I just said, and I'll say it again, the Senate those that are Republicans have made it clear. The way that it stands, it will have three things clearly in it. Number one, if you're violent, you don't get money. Number two, the Trump family's already made this clear in the settlement. They will not get money, and they won't get a settlement, and they can't make claims.
It's not just about
If you were wrongfully attacked, let's go with the Catholics for a second.
Wait.
Hold on, let's go with Catholics for a second. I'm going to go with the Catholic
3,500
example.
people
Hang on,
went
Terry,
into the
go ahead.
Capitol. 3,500, 700 charged. These are the worst of the worst. These are people who went to the Capitol.
Hold on, no pause.
Wait,
they're not all bad. They were not all bad.
I'm going 700.
We're going to 76-year-old women.
And the reason they were the worst of the worst is because they went there with the worst motive a citizen of a democracy can have. They went to silence the vote of the people, as confirmed and affirmed by the 50 sovereign states of this country and by 60 courts of law, and they wanted to stop that.
If you're
they were the worst
let me ask you, hold on. If you're
Okay, Ben, go ahead.
75, 76, 77, 78-year-old woman.
Stay at home.
Stay home. Whoa.
They had a
We're being a
choice.
free
They had a
country.
choice. Stay home. We was in April when they decided to
So
vote.
no
They
freedom
had
of speech,
already
no freedom of expression. You can't walk
The
out.
votes were counted.
You can't walk in the
Wow.
You are
The Democratic Party wants, hey, if
That
you're
grandmother
stay home right now, just stay home.
Hang on.
Stay home
And
if
it
you're
was
old.
the
All this yelling doesn't accomplish anything. All this yelling he's doing doesn't
Stay
accomplish
home if you're an
anything.
old person. Democratic Party says you have no word in
don't
America
break
and
into the
Washington.
American
You can't change the votes
if
of
you're an
those
old
who've already
person.
cast.
If the door was open, if the door was open,
door was open. You are. This is ridiculous.
I'm asking you a very serious
No, you're
question.
not asking a serious question.
Yes, I am.
You're asking
Were there doors open on January
You're
6th?
asking a
signs in front of them
ridiculous
saying,
question
"Do not
and
enter."
being
Were there-
ridiculous.
I'm going to call. Okay, I got to call it.
Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. The biggest political challenge is that many Americans have seen promises about limits and safeguards disappear over time, making them skeptical when leaders say, "Trust us, it'll be different this time." Public trust in government is already low, and changing promises only adds to that distrust. There's also concern about the precedent being set. If one administration creates a large compensation fund for people it believes were unfairly targeted, future administrations could do the same for their own political allies. Once government benefits become tied to politics, serious questions arise. At the same time, many Americans are struggling with rising housing costs, healthcare expenses, and economic uncertainty. That's why proposals involving large sums of money often spark debate about priorities and where resources should be directed. Another key issue is accountability. These cases went through years of investigations, court hearings, and legal reviews. While people may disagree about specific outcomes, the process was extensive and not rushed. Ultimately, the debate comes down to whether any compensation system can be transparent, independent, and applied fairly to everyone.